My next guest, well, let me tell you what his book's called, Surviving Hell. That's all you need. It's not an easy read. It's not a lightweight read, okay? It's not some chippy-chappy memoirs from life in the services. It's a remarkable story of a former British soldier who was caught up in one of the biggest and strangest miscarriages of justice in the modern era. It's Nick Dunn. Hello, Nick Dunn.
Good afternoon.
Nick Dunn, one of the Chennai Six, ex-elite soldier. Can I just make something clear here, my understanding of this, and you're going to explain it all. When I say miscarriage of justice, that's an odd phrase, because that means someone who was wrongly convicted of a crime or a crime that was not properly investigated. My memory of this, of the Chennai Six, is that there was actually no crime committed. Am I right in thinking that?
That is totally correct. It was more like a seizure exercise, an arrest exercise to make an example out of us. But yeah, there was absolutely no crime committed. The police during the trial couldn't put anything on the table. But obviously, during the trial, we knew we were in the deep end in battling with corruption.
So talk us through it. You were on a boat. It was the time of the Somali pilot. So talk us through it.
I was doing like maritime security, basically stopping merchant vessels getting attacked by Somali pirates, and we were on a company holding rest and recuperation support vessel during the time of my arrest. We'd ceased operations and we required fuel and provisions. And then obviously the company, they have a guy like liaisons with different organizations to procure fuel, food and water, etc. And we just think it was just a normal procedure until one early morning on the 12th of October 2013, when we were boarded by the Indian Coast Guard, and I wouldn't say under gunpoint, but their ship kind of had its gun pointed on our vessel and basically made sure we were to go to port as quick as possible.
So even at that point, again, just so people understand, the Somali pirate thing was a big thing. The Navy, I think, had some kind of presence, but basically, quite rightly, big shipping companies were saying, no, we'll get our own security. We'll have people, we can't leave this to the Navy. We'll have our own people. You were doing that. They board the ship. But even at this point, are you still thinking, I don't know, someone's mucked up some paperwork somewhere. This is inconvenient and annoying, rather than this is going to steal some years of my life?
When you're in the private security industry, you may find yourself or hear of stories of you going to ports or different departments and you need, say, a signature or a stamp on your paperwork to make sure there isn't any problems. When I say that, I'm not saying the weapons that we had were illegal.
Mm-hmm.
They were all stamped and accredited, and the same weapons were all signed and accredited by Mumbai officials. So when we're in the southeast corner of India and Tamil Nadu, how can they deem these weapons 1 minute legal to the next minute illegal?
Mm-hmm.
And we just thought, well, maybe they just want a bit of money. That's
Sure.
what normally happens in these situations. They want a bit of bribery money. However, it took a turn for the worst, and it was something that no one could have seen.
So this is the book, by the way, Surviving Hell. I don't want to, it's a spoiler alert, but basically there was a trial which I remember at the time hearing about it and thinking, well, this sounds very kangaroo courtish to me. While you were undergoing this trial, you and the other guys, there were the six of you, were you in contact? Were you talking? And was it feeling like we're being stitched up here and we don't know why, and we're wondering, who's gonna come and sort of help us out?
it was always in our back of our minds that the worst case scenario may happen. But when we're doing the trial and we've got a fantastic legal team, and when you're stood in the courtroom and you're seeing the apparently witnesses getting cross-referenced, and you can tell with what they're saying they've been lying from day one, and we're putting the evidence on the table, and we're trying to get the prosecution to counter it, and they haven't got a clue. It's like, so how was this dragged on so long? Like, it's been over 2 years now. And the trial was just made out to look so good in our favor, so they could get maximum mental torture from convicting us. It was like a script playing out before your eyes, but you couldn't see it.
So how long did it run from the day they boarded you to the I remember it was at Christmas time when you were released. How long was it?
Just over 4 years. And people might think, well, it's only 4 years, but when you're an innocent man and you've physically done nothing wrong, and you've gone in and you've shared the cells with your work colleagues for best part of over 2 years, it's quite horrible knowing that your family's on the other side of the world, worrying every single day. I don't think there was a single day in the 4 years that I never thought of my family. There was times where I would hit a down period and I would cry myself to sleep. Obviously, I didn't let the other guys in my cell know that I was crying. It was more just letting the tears roll down my eyes, because you didn't know the end game. I always believed there was the light at the end of the tunnel, but you couldn't see it.
It's a fascinating story, and I haven't read it yet. I've just got it, so I will read it. But a few months ago, I interviewed Chris Ryan, and his story, you see, this is a very, very different story, because he was caught doing something. He went to do something which he knew that if he got caught, it was going to be serious consequences. He did get caught, and so his story is about trying to survive, trying to give away as little as possible, trying to keep everyone as unangry with him as he can, and keep everyone pacified until, you know, the war finishes and he's released. But with you, it's very different, because what were you actually convicted of?
We were convicted of straining Indian waters and weapons offences.
Right. So this isn't...
They deemed the weapons illegal.
Right. So this isn't like you're a soldier, you're on active duty. I've been caught. Okay, I'm going to have to swallow it now. There are procedures. It's a nightmare. But if I can just keep my head down, it will come to an end. You're basically a civilian who's been convicted of what seems like pretty sketchy, namby-pamby charges, really. And yet you're banged up in this, you know, in presumably a not very nice prison with no... I mean, how long were you given a time?
When we got convicted, we were given a 5-year sentence, and this is the reality. I'd still be serving my sentence to this day. It would be the latter stages of the sentence, but you know, if you think of how this year's panned out, imagine me, from my family's point of view, being stuck in an Indian prison. There probably wouldn't have been any mail. I think they would have stopped that. No visits from my family. And whether the embassy would have been able to get in to see were
probably not.
It's probably a big guess. But imagine nearly a best part of 1 year of how my family would feel. Luckily, that's not happened. We won our appeal. But it is quite frightening when you think, if we didn't win our appeal, we wouldn't have lost 4 years. We would have lost a combined 7.5 years. So if someone said to me, right, you're going to go through a hellish time in your life, but you're going to, what would you rather do, 7.5 years or 4 years? I'll take the 4 years all day long.
But now the appeal, you won the appeal. What happened between Because I'm guessing, I'd say don't want to spoil it, but I haven't read it yet. But I'm guessing there was no new massive piece of evidence where the Indian authorities said, "Oh, sorry, if we'd have known that at the beginning." Was it political pressure, or was it just the people who were responsible and hadn't been paid off had sort of left the scene? How do you read that?
It was definitely political. We felt at times we were political pawns, and we will keep thinking, oh, maybe the Vijay Mallya case was having some sort of effect on ours, but that's just coincidence and media going at the same time as ours. But there's absolutely no way they would have used Vijay Mallya and us as a bartering chip of some sort, which when you're in prison and you're thinking, can we get out and can we get home to our families, you start to think of these little things.
Yeah.
British government and Indian government would never have achieved that. And it took, you'd think we would find new evidence, but we gave everything we had. We were 100% in the clear, and there's nothing they could do apart from dragging it out. And it took a man with bone cancer, basically looking like he's on his last legs, to change the tide for us.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, listen, it's out now. It's Nick Dunn, No Crime, No Justice, No Surrender, Surviving Hell, and it's a perfect size. It's a perfect size. It's not heavy. It's a nice, I like the lightweight papers. That means I can put it in my bag, have it on the tube when I'm up and down. It'd be fabulous. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Everyone would look forward to reading it. Surviving Hell, Nick Dunn. Thank you very much. You're listening to Bob Mills on Talk Radio.